Hello there. Okay, I am back on the camera because I didn't like how the computer videos were turning out. The sound was off, the image was off, so I'm going to try to work with the camera again. Alright, starting off today, I have to catch up on my YouTube Pagan Challenge prompts. First one being, do you have an altar, shrine, or sacred space? This is actually the prompt for week 3. Do I have a shrine or sacred space? Altar. Sort of. And I will say yes, I do have a quasi-altar set up over on my hearth, and I will add in a picture so you can see what it looks like when it's neatened up, because right now it's kind of messy. But this is not really I don't consider it my permanent altar, because although I would like to have a permanent altar, I have found that the longer I am on this path, the less stuff I want or need to have. So even though I do like to keep an altar just kind of as a reminder to me of the things that should be kind of forefront in my life, I don't see it as necessary to keep one, because I have really started to enjoy and appreciate the idea that the divine is everywhere. I don't need things to remind me of it necessarily, although they help in that regard. I don't need an altar set up to maintain the energy in my home, and I don't need an altar in order to do ritual or magic or cast spells. So I don't see it as absolutely necessary, although yes, I do have some altar items that I have collected over time. Some of them were gifts, some of them I picked out when they called to me, so I do like to keep those things around. That said, my altar currently is on my hearth, and I don't really like that spot. I like the spot because the hearth as the focal point of the home is a very important concept to me. And also because I work with the Norse deities, and I see Frigg especially and Freya to some extent as being kind of the protectress of hearth and home, and I really like having them near my hearth. Now, what I don't like about that location is that my hearth is, well, I don't like my fireplace, I don't like my mantle. It's a totally screwed up construction. Whoever put it together wasn't too bright, but it's basically a long kind of concrete hearth, and I think it's ugly, and it is really kind of too long to do anything with, so I find myself spreading things out. So I kind of have 3 spaces in one on that hearth. On the far right hand side, I have what is my little mini ancestor altar right now, where I keep my spirit bottle, a photo of my grandfather, and incense, that sort of thing, oils related to my ancestors. On the far left hand side, I have kind of my little space for Frigga, who is my, and this will come up in another week, but my patron deity, patroness, I guess you could call her. And I actually don't have a statue of Frigga, I have one of Freya, but I consider them one and the same, just different aspects of the same goddess energy. So I keep the statue of Freya there, and I have my little altar items there for her. I have incense, candles, that sort of thing. She's kind of raised up on a little box which needs to be decorated or something. It's just an old box I had because the statue is small. I wanted her up a little bit. So I have that on the left hand side, and then in the middle is kind of my general all-purpose area where I have my little cauldron, I have my working candle, When I have a crystal grid set up, then that's where I put that. If my hearth candle is going, I may keep it either, I'll keep my hearth candle either over by my ancestors or in the middle. So, I mean, it works. I have that space available, but I am kind of pragmatic, and I don't like the fact that if all of that space is in use, if I did actually want to use my fireplace, then I have to move everything to do it. So that doesn't sit well with me. I have to find a better system. Now, before I moved home, I was out of the state for a couple of years. Before that, I had my main altar set up on my dresser in my bedroom, so right across from my bed. And that worked out well. I had Freya there, I had my candles, a couple of boxes. I do still have some boxes with crystals and different things in them set up. Oh, and I have 2 small cards from Wolfing. Salmo Wolfing is an artist who I absolutely love and adore. She has just the most surreal kind of mother-child artistry that I really enjoy. German, and from what part of Germany I don't believe I know, but I'll have to look it up. I can try and put some information on that artist because I do really love her work. So I have those things still on my dresser, but when I did get home, Freya told me no, she doesn't want to be there anymore, so I brought her out into the main part of the house, and that's why she's on the hearth. For a little while she was on my windowsill with a few other things. Another reason, and I think this will kind of wrap up my talk about sacred space, another reason that I don't like to keep too many things out is for when other people come around. Not necessarily that I don't want them to see my altar, but I don't want them messing with it. Because I have had that happen a couple of times where someone came over, they may or may not have known that I practice witchcraft, doesn't matter, but they'll see something sitting on the hearth or on my windowsill. For example, I had a friend come over, just grabbed my athame right off the sill, and oh, that would make a good letter opener. Like, really? Didn't your mother ever teach you not to touch things? So that is my main purpose for not liking to keep a lot of things out. The other thing is when my niece comes to visit. She's still pretty little. She's not quite 3 yet. And she first thing, when I have a crystal grid set up, she will come and destroy my grid. She loves crystals. And that I don't mind, because I consider baby energy good energy. First thing one day she came and she grabbed, I had a crystal or a stone egg on display because I just like that shape, the egg. And she went straight over to the hearth, grabbed the stone egg, opened up my cauldron, my little cauldron, put it in there, and said, okay, I'm cooking. So she was cooking the egg. So again, you know, people will have a tendency to touch things that aren't theirs. If it's my niece, I don't mind. I like baby energy everywhere. If it's other people that I've invited in my home, then I do mind. So I just kind of avoid giving them the temptation, put it that way. And I lean, I think I've mentioned before, a little bit toward the minimalist anyway, which I can talk about a little bit more later. But so yes, I think I've mentioned all of the little spaces, and then I have various statues and things around the house that I've collected over time. Some of them mean a bit more to me than others, but they're more decorative than altar type stuff. And lastly, I have put up, or I'm going to put up, a couple of videos related to sacred space. I read the book The Life-Changing Art of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo, and I read it because everyone else was reading it, so I had to see what the fuss was all about. And I do go over a review of what I thought of the book, but main takeaway from that, I really enjoyed the idea that by systematically, consciously going through everything that you have, you can create a living space in which everything that surrounds you creates joy in your life. And that, to me, is the ultimate sacred space. My home. My home and the energy in my home, I want it always to be sacred. So it doesn't matter if I have an altar. It doesn't matter if I have, all the bits and pieces, a wand and a thame, a statue. It doesn't matter, because the divine and the sacred is here no matter what. And that idea I really love. Following up on that, I did some more reading. I've gotten lately back into reading Denise Linn. If you have not read any of her books, please, please do. She's an absolutely amazing person. I do not recommend starting with her autobiography. That will depress you. It's kind of a downer. She had a really screwed up life for a long time. Family stuff when she was growing up. But that said, still, she's an amazing person, writes beautiful books, and I did also read her book on sacred space, which I will do a separate video on because I think it brings up a lot of wonderful information about how to create a wonderful space within your home. Alright, so that is my tidbit on, do I have an altar and or sacred space? Yes, sort of, I do, but I believe that the home is the sacred space. Moving on, I will be telling you about week number 4, my take on the Wheel of the Year. So stay tuned for that one, and I will be back shortly.